Welcome to Baseball Biz. I'm Mark Carpenter, your host, and with me is none other than that great RaysUp fan. And with me is none other than that great RaysUp fan, Mr. Brandon Noway. How you doing today, Brandon?
I'm doing really good, Mark. How about you?
I am doing fan-freaking-tastic, brother. And I got to tell you, better than most days. This is a special bonus edition we're putting together for RaysUp because we couldn't wait for the regular edition. There is just too much going on, and we finalized a series with the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, and boo-hoo, you poor Yankee fans. This, by the way, you don't have to listen to this unless you're a Rays fan.
Yeah, it's always great to hear the Yankee fans sad. You see it on Twitter. They want Boone fired. They want everybody gone. I mean, I thought we were overreacting to a sweep in April, but they want the whole team blown up in April just because they started off slow.
It was ugly. And, the sad thing was this series started, and both the Rays and the Yankees were they were limping along. I mean, they had lost a couple games just before we came into Yankee Stadium. We had lost 2 of 4 with the Rangers. Neither one of these teams are looking good. Starting to wonder if anything's going to happen. And, man, oh, man, Yankee Stadium, that was... Some fans weren't too happy on that stadium. I mean, there was a couple of crazy things that happened during the series. One of them, they had fans throwing baseballs out onto the field.
Yeah, I want to know where they got all those baseballs from. If they just left them there from batting practice, or that was probably what it was. But
I can only wonder. I mean, the whole idea of it was crazy. I did see back in 2015 that Yankee fan, an opposing team had hit a home run, and it was back around where Brett Gardner was. Brett, it was way above and beyond anything he was going to be able to catch over the wall. So he walks back to his position, and a fan, as sometimes fans do, takes the home run ball and throws it back onto the field in disgust. But they hits Brett Gardner, bam, right in the back of his neck. And that was just ugly. You see him, he just kind of gets stunned for a second, kind of leans over a bit. And Brett Gardner, being Brett Gardner, though, he just stands right up like the Gollum and rock man that he is and, continues on with the game.
Yeah, that fan must have a heck of an arm, but their aim might suck. Or it could be really good if they meant to hit them.
Ooh. Well, enough about the fans, because let's talk about the celebration. Skyrockets should be going off at this point. We had the, here in Tampa, we had the fun in the sun with the Blue Angels going overhead, and I took that as part of a celebration of how the team was doing during the series.
Oh, man, I forgot the Blue Angels were in town. I saw them on their Instagram, that they were at Sun and Fun. They're always cool to see.
Oh, yeah. But looking at, these last 3 games, I'm always excited about going to play Yankees, and certainly in Yankee Stadium. Because, any home team should have the advantage. And they just have been having a very tough year. The first game, what was it? What was the score on that one, Brandon?
8-2.
8-2. I mean, that just has to hurt, brother. I'm looking there, they had Nick Nelson pitching in that first inning. He just was suffering. He had 2 hits and 2 earned runs against him, 2 walks. He did manage 2 strikeouts, but it was a lot of pitching before he got to those strikeouts. And following him, you had King for about 3 innings, and he gave up a couple of hits, and then at the end, Lucas, he pitched 4 innings, and he had 5 hits, 2 earned runs, and 3 strikeouts. So that had to be hurting them. And in that first game also, with the Rays, looking at, that Austin Meadows had 3 walks in that game. That was just, kind of crazy.
Yeah, everybody on the Rays got on base, or at least got a hit, except for Meadows, but he had 3 walks, so he more than made up for that. And how about Wacha? Went 6 innings, didn't give up a run.
Oh, man. And 9 strikeouts. Kicking it. Absolutely kicking it. We got these guys in. I know they're pros and they're seasoned, but they're new to being out there with the Rays, so I'm still scratching my head and wondering. So he was just killer. Then Richards comes in behind him, and for 2 innings gets 3 strikeouts. Gets a couple of hits and runs against him, but Wacha was just knocking it. There was not many walks on Wacha. He had 2. That's more than you want, but hey, that was a great game. I just absolutely loved it.
This whole series, they really, really impressed me because everything that I was concerned about, for the most part, except for runners in scoring position, they proved me wrong. They were hitting good. Their pitching was really good. Their fielding was awesome. And the only thing is running and scoring position. Like in the first game, even though they scored 8 runs, they were 3 for 15 overall. Now, that could be improved, but hey, they scored 8 runs.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Everybody got their Papa John's pizza markup. I mean, I should have got that break. I forget what the deal is, but they got that. And then game 2, I was excited because I want to see Glasnow again. And quite honestly, the first game I thought with Wacha, I said, I don't know how we'll do, but he certainly, he just really went above and beyond at least what my expectations were. And the team did as well with those 8 runs. So that was huge. So the second game, we're looking at the Rays win again with a 6-3 against the Yankees. And Glasnow's out there, man. Glasnow's out there for 5 innings. He did get 2 hits on him and 1 earned run, 4 walks, but he was suffering out there. Oh, by the way, 7 strikeouts and 105 pitches. They made him pitch a lot. The Yankees did for 5 innings. But man, he achieved so much. And then I'm sitting there watching the game live, and I'm seeing him. His face is contorted. His hand, he's pulling his glove hand out, and he is just in pain. I was really concerned. I didn't know what the heck happened with him.
I didn't know either. I was afraid that because, he's been our best pitcher, been our best player by far, maybe outside of Wendell, but he's really key to this team's success, and they really couldn't afford to have him go down for an extended period of time, but I don't know what it was. It could have just been like a Charlie horse or something, because those hurt.
You saw the hydration going on, the exercise. Willie was bringing out water and Gatorade to him, and I don't know how quick hydration works, but Tyler was able to continue on. That was great.
Yeah, he toughed it out, and even though he didn't really look great, especially the first 2 innings. He threw like 50 pitches total. He settled down, and he was able to get through 5, which is honestly what we're used to having pitchers do with the Rays over the past few years, but he's able to get through 5 and relatively cleanly. And the bullpen did their job and helped clean it up.
I mean, quite honestly, I thought that Cash would pull him. To get him up to 105 pitches was phenomenal. I know what was a couple of years back, I think he threw 112 in one game, but that was an extraordinary circumstance.
Yeah, and I mean, it's early. You don't really want to risk anything. That's what I was thinking. I was like, what, maybe they're just going to pull him, be safe, but maybe he was fine and he just needed a minute and a drink of water. And didn't he end up striking out the next guy, or did he just get him out?
I believe he struck him out. I mean, like I said, he had a total of 7 strikeouts for 7 innings. So it was a good showing. Then your boy Jeffrey Springs pops up. He's in there for the next, inning and a third. And he did allow a hit and a run, but he also in that 1.1 innings had 2 strikeouts. And we'll talk about more of him in a moment on Game 3. But then Colin McHugh, he was suffering. I mean, in a third of an inning, he had 2 hits against him, a run against him, but he got 1 strikeout. Let's see, following him was Ryan Thompson, and of course, after that, Diego Castillo. We'll talk a little bit about Diego in Game 3 as well. Okay, before we leave Game 2, there's somebody else we need to talk about. Another newcomer to the Rays, but who's been establishing himself quite well, and that's Mr. Francisco Mejia.
Yeah, and it took us this long to get to him because we've been so focused on the pitching, but looking at the guys that had 2 RBIs, 3 of them did. Margot and Wendell, we kind of expect them to contribute. But Mejia, the way he's contributed early this year, he's hitting .333. Had 2 RBIs on Saturday. It was 2 for 4. He's really impressed me, and he was one of those guys I was worried about because we got him in the trade with Snell, what he was going to do, and so far he's having a pretty good impact.
Eric Neander, we salute you again. Really, really, really miss Mr. Snell and Morton, but Francisco here, he's earning his keep, man, and then some. And these new pitchers we have too is seeing some good things coming. Anything else on Game 2?
No, I think we got it all covered for Game 2 now.
All right, I'm glad you. Yeah, Mejia, I'm so excited about him too. These new players, like I said, you come in there. At least I do. with some hesitation saying, what are they really going to be able to do? And game 3, one of my greatest concerns was a guy we actually brought in 2020, and that was Mr. Yoshi Susugo. Yeah, we're going to talk about the whole game, but I know that we've all been kind of concerned about that. And a couple of things I want to mention at the beginning with game 3 of Yoshi was one, before he even had anything hit, he had took Gerrit Cole to an 8 count on pitches. And I said, yes, because we need to wear Cole's arm out in game 3. So we're looking at game 3, and we've got Mr. Cole we're going to be facing. And we started with Andrew Kittredge. We'll talk about him in a minute. But what are some of the big picture things you saw in game 3, Brandon?
Well, it was a game where it was a team win. The offense did enough to win the game. They scored the 4 runs, and the pitching did their part in holding the Yankees offense to only 2 runs. And they did this all again, going up against Gerrit Cole, one of the best pitchers in baseball. And like you were saying a minute ago, Yoshi came through, and he ended up knocking Cole out after making him pitch 8 pitches, at least. And even though he went 1 for 4, he did have the game-winning RBI. And hopefully that's something that'll give him a confidence boost, and it'll get him going, because even though the Rays have done good the past 2 games, they could still use all the help they could get.
Absolutely. And we look at certain players, and you see them sometimes struggle or go through difficult points. And with Yoshi, Cash was trying to do a few different things. He's the DH, but he was also, at one point, putting him at the very beginning of the lineup. And there was some question as to whether Yoshi felt comfortable about that or not. And then he has certainly made himself seen and heard in game 3 in the series.
Yeah, and I'll admit, I was one of those people that was critical of having him in the leadoff spot. I think I covered it on the show either last week or a couple weeks ago. I was critical of it, and maybe putting him at the bottom of the lineup, that does help him a bit more. Less pressure. You don't have to worry as much being the first hitter up at the plate. So maybe that helps give him a breath of fresh air, and it can help him out in the long run, if he's still around then.
Well, you look at who we had up there, and who the big performers were. We're leading now with Yandy Diaz as the leadoff man, and Yandy has done a great deal as far as on-base percentages overall. And in that game, he had 1 hit, 1 walk, and 1 RBI. So look at this now. He had 3 at-bats, and twice he got on base, once with a hit and once with a walk. Yandy has been one of those players who has just shined and shined and shined some more, and he certainly did during this series.
The thing I liked about Game 3, like I said earlier, is that it was a team game, and the big-name guys, they didn't have a very good day. Meadows, he was 0 for 4, Margot 0 for 3, Lau 0 for 4, Brasso 0 for 4. Wendell, he was the biggest guy that stepped up. He went 2 for 3 with a homer and an RBI. So it was good to see him step up. With Zunino and Kiermaier, they were getting on base. Yandy, he was getting on base. So it was sort of like an ugly win, but you need to learn how to win ugly, because that's how you win in the playoffs.
Exactly.
It's not always pretty.
It isn't. You're right. And to see Joey Wendell, he has just shined so well through this. Like you're saying, 3 at-bats, 2 runs, 2 hits, 1 RBI. Come on, this guy he's amazing. So
yeah, he's
I've always liked
Joey.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He's hitting 340 right now.
Jeez and crackers. Pardon me. Yeah, that 340 is just freaking amazing. And it was good to see Kiermaier back in there. He'd been out for a little bit on injury, so he was out there and did pretty daggone good. So I was glad to see him in place.
Yeah, it's good to see him come back, and hopefully he can come back to form, robbing guys in the outfield and hopefully getting on base and maybe stealing some bases as well.
And the way this game began, I don't know that you'd call him a starter, but Andrew Kittredge is who Cash put up there to face off with Mr. Gerrit Cole in the first inning. Actually, almost the first 2 innings. He did, he did 1 2/3 innings, Andrew Kittredge did. So He allowed 1 hit, 1 earned run, but he also did 3 strikeouts in that short period of time.
Yeah, and he only threw 21 pitches, and 15 of those were strikes, so he really didn't waste any time up there.
Do you think they gave Ryan Yarbrough an advantage by having Kittredge up there first?
That's what it would look like, because he found his greatest success a couple years ago when he had, 15 or 20 wins, because he was the second guy going after the opener. And maybe that's just where he feels more comfortable. Yes, a guy come in like Kittredge, maybe pitch an inning, 2 at the most, and then you have Yarbrough go 4 or 5 innings, taking up the bulk. And because he didn't really look that comfortable as a starter, especially up in Boston, and in his last start, he didn't look good at all. So maybe this is where he feels the most comfortable.
Well, he did. I mean, he performed well. When you think, again, both him and Kittredge, and we'll talk about the other pitchers in a moment who had to go up against Cole, did a fantastic job. But I got to tell you, Brandon, it was that 5th inning, and it's the bottom of the 5th, and my teeth are clenched and chattering because, wow, oh my gosh, for the second time, the catcher for the Yankees was allowed to walk to base. And then Mr. Yarbrough has LeMahieu up. And I thought, oh, no. This is going to change everything. LeMahieu will hit a home run or something and get all the, or he'll definitely get in as catcher and get an RBI. No, but he does take first base. He does get to first. And then the judge approaches the plate. Wow. Okay. And here we are. We got 2 strikes, 2 men on base, and Aaron Judge at bat. You see Yarbrough. He throws a changeup, and Judge missed it. Judge laid off of another one that was way off the side, and then Yarbrough throws another pitch, also out a little bit for the changeup, and Judge goes for it, and bam, that 5th inning is done. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, thank goodness, because that could have been a big game changer.
Yeah, it really easily could have, because, Judge, he can do anything in that little sandbox. It was either he's going to hit a bomb and it goes 500 feet, or it's going to be one of those that sneaks over into the first row that would have been an out at any other stadium. But thankfully, Yarbrough came through, got the strikeout, got him out of the inning, and it was able to help him get the win.
Yeah, and then Diego came in for 1 1/3 innings, and brought him in a little early, because I always say, well, you'll bring Diego in the 9th. But then, he did pretty good. 1 1/3 innings, and he's got 2 strikeouts. But then in the 9th, I thought, well, maybe they'll keep Diego in there. They brought Diego in after Yarbrough just as the heavy hitters are coming up, because we talked about him striking out Judge, and then, Diego coming in a little later. But anyway, but then your guy, Mr. Springs, pops up, uncoils, for the final inning. Tell me a little bit more about Mr. Springs.
Yeah, he came in, he worked the 9th in, which was surprising. I expected Diego to work the 9th like he usually does, but they brought him in, and I believe it was the 7th. And so Springs came in, he worked the whole 9th himself, got a strikeout, and he got the save. So he's been a really big pickup, because I remember when we first saw him on the roster, we were like, who's Jeffrey Springs? And he's honestly probably been our best reliever outside of Diego.
He has been absolutely stunning. So I'll say this, Cash has a good bullpen, period, and we were so concerned with Nick Anderson out, how things were going to go, and I'll look forward and welcome when he comes back. But I am really, really impressed with how well everything has been at this point with some of the folks, just like Mr. Springer, and also, I was hoping Springs, like Mr. Springs, Springer. Yeah, with Mr. Springs. I'm looking at some of the numbers here for the Rays and the Yankees.
I know they've won 5 of the last 6 games.
And during that period of time, the Rays scored 36 runs. The Yankees had 20. The Rays' batting average was .251. The Yankees was .168. Rays hit 9 home runs, and the Yankees hit 6. Our starting ERA was 2.35, and the Yankees 6.93. Ouch.
I mean, I love it. I love it because you got this small team with a small budget. They have to do it based on just scouting and hoping that you find players that nobody or everybody else overlooks, and that's what they've done for years. And this little team is making everybody on national TV debating, what's wrong with the Yankees? And their fans are booing, throwing things on the field, wanting people fired, these guys traded. It's crazy, even though it's only April, but I guess that's what happens when you're the Yankees and you have expectations every year.
We're just barely into it. We're 16 games in. We're talking about 1/10 of the entire season. But looking at the AL East standings this morning, win-loss records, who's standing there at the top? Red Sox, which surprises me to some degree. 10 wins, 6 losses. We just now got back to 500, and we're at 8-8. The Blue Jays 7-9, Orioles 7-9, and the Yankees 5-10. Wow.
Yeah, and even though we are having fun with this, everybody, have some fun with it, but, just stay calm. Even if you're a Yankee fan still listening to this show, stay calm. It's early. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. If this were last year, I would definitely be panicking. I think you guys would have the right idea. But it's more of a normal year this year. You have the 162 games. So just stay calm. If it's happening around Memorial Day, then you can start to worry a little bit more, but it's only the middle of April.
I've always been seeing the Yankees as a rival, and I don't have a disgust for them. There are certain players who hit by pitch problem when, we talked about Aroldis Chapman. They're suffering, dude. I mean, as a team, the last 10, they've only won 2 of their last 10 games, Brandon. But like you said, the season's early, so take heart. Put hope in your if you're a Yankee fan, things can change. And I realize that too as I'm beating our chest here and only being at 500 and beating the Yankees.
Little victories.
Yeah, with us winning 5 of the last 6, things can change. But for this moment, we're going to celebrate this win in the series against the Yankees. And it's been a fantastic Rays Up weekend. Brandon, what are you looking forward to for the future here, man? Anything else?
Man, we got a good series. We get to see the Royals for the first time in 2 years, and we're pumping up the Rays now, watching them lose the series or get swept by the Royals. That wouldn't shock me the way this year's gone for everybody, but hey, we get to see some teams that we haven't seen play in a few years, so that'll be nice to see.
I'm looking forward to it, brother. I want to say thank you for all our audience once again in joining us in this bonus Rays Up edition, and look forward to talking with you all again real soon. You've been listening to Baseball Biz. As always, you can find us on your favorite podcast directory, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more. Thanks again, and remember you can also check us out on Twitter at TheBaseballBiz. Take care and have a great week. Special thanks to XtakeRuxIt for the music rocking forward.